So, it's January 2018. We're going to talk about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is great, right? Start the year with something like this. I think the timing is perfect. So why don't we open up in a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for these young people. We thank you that they came out tonight, and give me the words tonight to share the wisdom found in 7 habits. Bless our time together and bless these young people. In Jesus' name, amen. So, 7 habits.
Wait, pause. Did you tell about the Battle of the Balls?
I did.
Darn it, we missed it!
Oh, wait. Next month.
Has anybody not heard of the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Who has not heard? So about half the room. So get this. So this book was written in 1989. That is ancient. That is before all of you. It quickly becomes a must-read. I looked today on Amazon. It is still on Amazon's top 100 books to read. When you go to Amazon, and there's a hyperlink, top 100 books, not to read. It is in the top 100 currently being sold. Remember how I talked about that before? Every book has a rank where it falls in line. I think 7 Habits is number 56. So 89, that's some high-level math. Help me out. What is that, about 25 years or something?
28.
28? 28 years old, and today it is ranked number 56. So of all the books bought, it is the 56th most purchased. One of the good things about it is your future boss has probably read it. So while it may be an old book and there's tons of wisdom in it, it's always good to know things that your bosses know, right? Because they grew up with this. And the habits embody universal truths, cross gender, age, personality, and circumstances, and even nations. We're going to go through a lot of videos tonight, and as I was putting this together, a lot of the videos have thick accents. They're probably developed overseas. This book, these truths, are used around the world. So the 7 habits, this is them kind of all put together. So of the 7, there's 2 separate groups of 3. The first 3 are called the private victory. Those are our private habits. And then the next 3 are the public habits. Those are the things that we do in public. And then the 7th is refreshing ourselves, rearming ourselves. The chapter is called Sharpening the Saw. So Covey talks about the first 3. We have to develop our private habits before we can use our public habits. The private habits, or the private victories, as they're sometimes called, is be proactive. Number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Number 3 is put first things first. And then for the public victories, the habits are think win-win, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Number 6 is synergize. And then number 7 is about doing the right things to maintain these habits and continue developing. So when we get to the end, we're going to have questions and answers throughout, but when we get to the end, I'm going to ask you which of these kind of hit you the most, what resonated the most. Okay? How we doing? Any questions? So, habit 1, be proactive. So Covey talks about we are responsible and we have responsibility, meaning we have control over our responses. our responses don't have to be a knee-jerk reaction. When our little brother or sister does something, we don't immediately have to just flip out, right? We are in control of our responses. Responsible and responsibility. Okay, we're in control of our responses. So we can choose how we react. Then he goes on in this chapter and he talks about proactive people focus on their circle of influence. So what we see here is a circle of influence and a circle of concern. So what's the difference? We control our circle of influence. That circle is what we control. So examples would be what we eat, right? How much we sleep, what we read, what we do. Those are things that we can control. That's our circle of influence. Circle of concern is what we can't control. The weather, politics, national debt, things like that, right? As young people, your mom and dad's decisions, right? That's out of your control. So the idea is proactive folks focus on their circle of influence. They invest their time rather than focusing on things that they can't control, the circle of concern, which is around them, right? But we can't control it. They focus on what's their circle of influence? What can they control? So an example would be, you don't do well on a paper, right? You have to write a paper for school, you write it and you get a poor grade. So the reactive person would say, my instructor's an idiot, right? Does not appreciate the grandness, right? What would a proactive person say? A proactive person would look at it and say, what can I learn? What can I do differently next time? So then, if we don't control our circle of concern, what can we do? We can grow our circle of influence. Here's an example of that. Maybe we don't like current politics, right? We can't change who the governor is or who the president is. But a proactive person could enlarge their circle of influence by starting a grassroots movement, right? The more you expand your circle of influence, the more impact you have on your circle of concern. Okay, so that's habit one. Can anybody think of what is an area, what is something that would fit in your circle of influence? What are some examples of that? What do you have control over?
Work ethic.
Work ethic? Yep. What else? What if, let's say, you don't like the cleanliness of the bathroom upstairs? What could you do as a proactive person? Clean it, right? You can say, hey, look, gang, I'll take care of that bathroom. And that's a way of not just fussing about the circle of concern, but saying, wait a minute, this is in my circle of influence. I can take care of that. Good. Thank you. Habit two. Boy, this one is so important for you young people, for everybody, for me and everyone else. Begin with the end in mind. So isn't it funny? Everything is created twice, right? First time it's created in our mind, and then the second time it's created physically. Oftentimes people can climb the ladder of success, right? Only to get to the top and realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. So it's so important to begin with the end in mind. I can think of so many folks that were in such a hurry to get to college. I gotta go to college, gotta go to college. Only to get in their last semester and go, well, I don't want to do this. Right? They didn't spend as much time thinking about the end as they did think about doing it. Because it's easy. We get wrapped up in life and we want to just start pedaling real fast. So I have an example on the screen of the drawing of a house, right? The plans for a house. Could you imagine if we built this house without a plan? And we started in the lower left corner and just started building. we built the garage, then we built the next thing. Do you think by the end, by the time we got to the top right, that room would be as big as we wanted it? Right? If we didn't have a plan and we just started building? It's so critical to begin with the end in mind. Marriage. How many times do you see marriages not work? The big thing that I can think of is folks that, I want somebody that doesn't have many expectations. I don't want many expectations on me, and we just want to have fun and all that. And then 10 years later, they're like, oh my goodness, my spouse has no expectations, there's no plans. Didn't begin with the end in mind. Just coming up with different examples, not pro or con, but say you feel very convicted to homeschool your kids. You don't mention it. That wasn't part of, we didn't begin with the end, and you start having kids, and all of a sudden you find out your spouse doesn't want to homeschool. That was an opportunity we could have begun with the end in mind, right? Where do you want to end up? Something that Cindy and I talk about in our lives, we want to end our life with our family around us, our kids and our grandkids around us, when we're on our deathbed. So what does that mean? Well, we have to keep our marriage together, right? We have to have a good relationship with our kids and so on. So, by beginning with the end in mind, then you can put the building blocks in place over time. And not just get caught up in the busyness of life. So how does this habit fit in the life of a teenager, right? You just want to get through the day, watch your Harry Potter, do the school that you need to get done. How can you guys use this habit in your lives? And you got to talk. Peter, thank you.
Studying
Studying.
for a test,
Yeah.
even if there isn't one.
Yeah, Peter, and there will be tests, right? Either on paper or in life. That is such a good thing. One of my encouragements to you guys is don't do school for school's sake, do it for learning. I went to a luncheon back in November and I sat next to a guy, and he was probably in his 70s, maybe 80s. When he went back for his master's, he was telling me the story that the papers came back and people were all upset about their grades, and he didn't even look at his grade. He just wanted to know what he got right and what he got wrong, because he was there for the learning. And that was such an aha for me, because I was the guy just checking blocks. I was just working for that piece of paper at the end. What do I need to do to get my piece of paper so I can go do my next thing? Piece of paper being a degree, right? But what Peter's talking about is you guys have an opportunity to really learn stuff that you can utilize. What's another example of how we can use this habit, putting first things, beginning with the end in mind? Yes?
Like if you want to watch a movie at the end of the night, you have to put school before, and be like, well, I have to get all this done before I can do that. So you start that at the beginning of the day and figure out when you're going to do everything.
Yep. We're going to talk more about that habit. That's good.
I actually had something similar yesterday.
Yeah.
My workout class got moved earlier in the day to 1 o'clock. Usually I'm done around 3 o'clock, so it's created a problem, obviously. So I did school early the previous day.
Yeah. Good stuff. How does the Bible demonstrate this concept? Begin with the end in mind. Come on, baby, this is a softball. Heaven, jewels in our crown, right? This is temporary. The Bible's all over talking about the end, right? The book of Revelation. Right? Okay, thanks, Jake. I've got to get your headlights. All right. Habit 3. So these are still the private victories. Put first things first. And, what Grace and Peter just talked about, these are good examples of this. So let's first talk about the 4 quadrants. These 4 quadrants, I guess quadrants are always 4, right? That's rather redundant. I'll explain it to you later. This is very prevalent in the business world, the 4 quadrants. So on the left there is important and not important, and on the top is urgent and not urgent. So quadrant 1 is important and urgent, right? So crises, problems, deadline-driven things. And then there's important, not urgent. So this is like working ahead. So having your term paper done 2 weeks early is quadrant 2. Working on it 3 a.m. the day it's due is quadrant 1. Get it? And then there's not important, urgent. These are interruptions, phone calls, emails. And then there's not important, not urgent. That's trivial. A lot of the texts we get back and forth to our friends, right? Wasn't that funny? Yeah, that was funny. Right, that's quadrant 4. How does quadrants 3 and 4 impact quadrants 1 and 2?